Hello, in this video we're going to fix an intermittent power switch in a Miele SES 100 electric hose. This hose fits on our Miele S251i canister vacuum. We're having an intermittent power switch issue, which you basically don't get any power to the head when you turn the switch on and off. However, if you wiggle this around and push on it in different ways, it will come on. Also, on these, they're known for this plug in here, this little receptacle in here, pushing back and making it very difficult to keep your power head plugged into. We'll try to realign this and address this situation. These are no longer available. You cannot get these, so we're just going to repair this switch and see if we can get another 20 years of service out of it. So what we do first is we're going to need a screwdriver, a soldering iron, possibly a toothbrush if you'd like, and some 90% rubbing alcohol. All right, let's get started. Okay, first off, we're going to take a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. You want it to be a good one, a good sharp tip. A number 2 will not fit, and a number 0 will waller out the hex head in here. So we're going to take this screw off, and you're going to have to more than likely push down fairly hard. Sometimes if there's a lot of dirt built up in there, I'll take like a safety pin or maybe a pick, and I'll just kind of dig out till we get we get all that dirt in there and then get that nice little Phillips slot opened up. So let's get back in there and we'll do this. We'll take this screw out, put it to the side. Okay, now the trick to getting this off, because there's no other screws back here or hidden in this decal or anything like that. So what we're going to want to do is, this pivots back here. So we're going to take the end of the hose and we're going to grab this area right here and we're going to pull it, wiggle it up and out. And yes, the little slide flipped out, but no worries. We'll just put this to the side for right now. This is the little piece that flipped out. Not a big deal. Okay. Here's what we have here. We have this little switch assembly. Now, watch how this comes apart, because they have this twisted right here and it's wrapped around the little area where the screw goes back in, and we're going to want to put it back like that. We want this to lay down here. We don't want this to get tangled up and push the screw through it or anything like that. That would be a safety hazard. What I find here on these is that we have some bad solder terminals, some bad solder connections right here. Right here, here. These two are okay. This is okay, but these right here, this solder connection is loose, and you'll see it possibly when I wiggle that around. Okay. So we need to address this situation. I don't want to bend these wires around too much, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put these to the side, get them out of the way here. All right. And before I resolder this, I want to clean this up a little bit. And this is where the alcohol and the toothbrush is somewhat optional, but this is what I do. Rubbing alcohol is not going to affect the that electronic switch at all. I like to use 91%, just does the best job. Just get an old toothbrush, clean that up. And the reason why we want to do this is this has got a lot of lint and dirt in there, different debris, and we don't really want to contaminate our solder repair job, okay? So there we have it. We'll just use this towel here, we'll dry it up a little bit. I just kind of pat it. We don't really want to rub it, because then we will just get paper towel fragments in there, and then we'll just have to clean it off again. Okay, so we've got that. All right, let's preheat our soldering pen and get started. Okay, in this next step, we're going to fix our bad solder joints here. And it helps to have an extra pair of hands. If you don't have an extra set of hands to hold this for you, then maybe use a mechanical set of hands, whichever way works for you. Got the pen heated up. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to start on this bad one. As you can see, this particular, let me put this down and we'll get this, try to get this back up to the camera. Now that we've got this cleaned off, you can see where that little leg that goes through that PC board has totally pulled away from the solder connection. And that's because every time you flip this switch on and off, see it moving? It puts stress on that. So like this solder joint here looks bad, or I mean looks good, I'm sorry. You can obviously see this one, that this one's bad. That wasn't a very good solder joint from the factory, just straight up. This one here looks okay, but as you can see, it's actually moving in and out. So is this one. This is about the only one that seems to be decent, but we're gonna go ahead and redo all of those solder joints. So let's get this situated again. I've got my soldering pen warmed up. Get my cord out here. All right, let's start with this bad one. Don't breathe in the solder. There we go. And what we want to do is we want to heat up the solder joint and then add fresh solder to it. We want these to be a nice shiny silver, and we know we have a good solder joint. If they're dull, that means we have a cold solder joint or a bad solder joint. Clean off our tip a little bit here. I'm going to push this in right here. We're going to heat that up. I'm going to get that flowing. We're good to go. Now, while I'm in here, I can go ahead and just redo these other ones if I'd like. This just may save us some time down the road from another failure. This one here looked like it could use it. And just see that shift when I loosen that. All right, let's get this one in here. I'll clean the head. I like to have a clean tip. All right, and my little extra pair of hands is covering that one. So we'll get in there and do this. Apply heat. Okay. All right, I'm gonna clean off that tip, put her back. Now let's inspect. Get an up close inspection. See how nice and shiny those are? Those are good solder connections. They're gonna hold down for another 20 years. Maybe longer. We actually did a better job than the factory did, especially on that one right there. Okay, now the fun part. Let's reassemble. Okay, so that little slider that fell out, we're gonna do a little pre-assembly here. The flat end goes like this, correct? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take her back in here, and you can feel that it slides into a little track right here. Just goes in like that. It'll stay in. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of lock it just past this screw point, and then it won't flip out. I probably should have done that in the disassembly. Unrehearsed, we're just kind of winging it here. Okay, this area right here, these wear out. This area here wears out from plugging that power head in and out. So this is like really the only tricky part. And honestly, I think this is the biggest failure rate of this whole wand assembly here. So what I wanna do is let's actually put these wires back in before we forget. We're just going to take these wires because we moved them off to the side. I didn't want to heat those and ruin those with the soldering iron. So we're going to put these back in, and it's just going to go back in there like so. Reassemble it. All right. So we're going to put that back over here like this. Now, this piece here, the switch assembly, there's that groove in there that we saw, and that sits right down in here like so. We want to make sure we don't have any pinched wire, like right here. So there is no pinched wire. This sits down in here. It sits in there fairly firm. All right, really this is the trickiest part, is doing this. Now, originally this was designed to sit right in this pocket right here. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually take this, we're gonna put right here, and then we're gonna just kind of hold it All right. There's the little tab right there, and that tab needs to go into this little insert down here. So we're going to come at it at an angle. We're going to get down in there and make sure that's okay. Then we're going to put it back together, and we may have to work that switch just a hair, and we want that to snap, a little positive snap like that. Now, as we can see, we've got this up in here. The problem is these wear and they push back inside the handle. So what happens is you end up forcing that cord up in there, and I don't believe that's really the way to go. So what I did is I put this down in the front, and you'll see once you work with it. So anyway, mine is actually cracked right here because just everybody using it has been forcing down on this. Like I say, there's really, this part is unattainable. There is a parts house where you can find this little plug and switch assembly that goes down in here into this little wiring harness. I didn't really see a price on that, and I don't really know, honestly, if that's even current, to be honest with you. So now that we've got that snap, this is mounted, ready to go. Let's take our little door, slide it forward, and then we'll just reassemble. And I just had a little bit of alcohol I spilled on there, so I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. And we'll just screw that back in. And these hoses are not, or these wands are not produced anymore from what I'm seeing. Now don't get too crazy because we don't want to cinch it down so hard that it snaps. This plastic is starting to get brittle. This European plastic just does this after age. So there we go. Switch is nice. We don't have to clean the switch or anything. That's a sealed switch. So that's back up in there. Let me grab the wand and we'll do a test fit. Okay, so I have the wand, the power wand, the power head. See, right here. And as you guys have known from using this, we have this little green pilot light here. This tells you if the unit has power and is turned on. I always want to watch that. Okay, what we want to do is just make sure that we can plug this in. So the rule of thumb is just push it in. Don't force it. It should stay in. It's not moving around. Let's pull it back out. This did not follow it back out. Sorry, out of frame. Let's do that again. So what I do, and actually I found that it's best to do this in daylight where you actually have daylight hitting this so you're not just fumbling around. Problem is, if you try to do this by feel, you could be trying to push these tabs up into here, and that's what breaks this all up. So, you know, get it in some good direct light. Make sure that the ends are actually going in the little prong there. Push it in, get it in, and stop. Don't force it. All right? It doesn't need to click. It's not a positive click or anything, and these are getting worn out. This was a bad design from day one. So what we're trying to do is just kind of milk it here so we can keep getting service out of this vacuum. So that's how you do it. It doesn't need to go in and click just like that. It won't follow it back out. If you're careful and you do that, this should last you for years. Let's take it out front room in this case and give it a shot. See if we've got her repaired. Okay, so we have the hose mounted to the power head or to the main unit, and it's all hooked up, ready to roll. So let's give it a try. All right, here's that pilot light. We're in the off position, and on these Miele's, right, this little circle here needs to be pushed down to be on. You can hear it. Working well. We have a successful repair. Now we got the power head back in operation. Awesome. All right. So we're good to go. All right, folks, I hope this helps. Please leave questions or comments down below. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. I appreciate it.